So the other day I was thinking, where do the best ball handlers in the world get their creativity from? All of these moves and options in the bag, where do these come from? Are they going to pull a few out of thin air? Of course. But I'd argue that the majority of these are passed around through what we call observational learning. So in other words, players with a lot of talent pick up on certain moves, techniques, styles of play just from seeing other people do it, and then pretty easily apply it into their own game. Sometimes they'll go searching for it, looking for new tools to apply into their game, but other times they'll just naturally apply it without even really thinking about it or practicing it. So for example, I grew up watching a ton of CP3 and Steph Curry, so just naturally I never even really thought about it, but I started to use that Steph Curry one motion shot. I started to try to change speeds like CP3, and I didn't actually realize that until I started to learn more about observational learning and how it happens just in general for humans. And this goes for everything, right? You start to speak like your parents. You start to pick up on gestures that your friends do. Now, did the best players in the world pick and choose moves and styles from teammates, NBA players, etc., who they were just around a lot and watch frequently? Of course. They spent a lot of time watching these people, but I'd also guess that a lot of these players grew up watching and one and Streetball, or at least some of the best in the NBA at the time did. And then from there, they started to apply some of these techniques, these moves, these styles from that and one phase. And then the younger players coming up under them watched them. And then there's a trickle down effect where the young players under that generation were picking up on their moves too. So it went from and one to some of the players in the early 2000s or the mid 2000s. And then from there, all the players today are starting to follow under that. So if you trace it back to the root, a lot of what happens in today's current NBA with ball handling probably came from and one in that street ball phase. Number two, I think and one encouraged a lot of players to not only be okay with creativity, but to embrace it. Even if an athlete picked up no moves or styles or techniques from and one, there's an entire culture shift. Are some of these moves out of the question in a real game? 100%, of course. This is never going to happen in the NBA. But some of these are actually really solid moves and techniques that apply to real hoop. And even more important to me, trying some of these crazy moves may have helped build some general skill. So is trying a move like this beneficial in a real game? Probably not. But it can help build that general skill. In other words, it's just a good way to get athletes out of their comfort zone, to challenge their coordination. If you can do some of these easily, chances are you'll be able to do all the simple moves a lot more comfortably. And third, it just encourages these guys to go out and work on their handles for hours, to try new things, to do it in a fun way that actually engaged them. They got their dopamine going in their brain, right? They had fun with it, and they weren't just pounding the ball into the ground mindlessly. Because with engagement and fun comes more repetition, right? When they enjoy doing this, when it's cool to go work on your handles, you start to do it more and do it in a way that's fun, so you continue to do it. So I don't think there's really any surprise as to why these ball handlers in the NBA are so good these days. That entire culture shift in the early 2000s, I think, is responsible for a lot of what's going on in the league today. And who knows what's coming next, right? Who knows what's the next revolution? We probably never thought 20 years ago that and one was going to help shape ball handlers in the NBA like it did. So we'll see what's next. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm very interested as to what you think on this topic. Do you guys think that and one played a big role? Or do you think there was just a phase in passing in the history of basketball that didn't have much effect? Let me know, comment it below. Make sure to follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. And go check out my Instagram at ByAnyMeansBasketball for a lot more like this.